You're watching the Chaos Protocol on Transplanar RPG, an all-transgender, people of color-led dark fantasy TTRPG show set in an original non-colonial, anti-Orientalist multiverse. If you like what you see, please consider pledging to our Patreon to support the show and get access to a patron-only after-show, early podcast episodes, GM notes, character sheets, and even the chance for your tabletop OC to cameo in our series. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy. The Chaos Protocol is a dark fantasy series that may contain content that is triggering for some viewers. Content warnings for this episode include complex relationships, smoking, fantasy violence, blood, gore, hunting, vampirism, visions, falling unconscious, romance, flirting, and kissing, and references to ghosts, food, alcohol, eating, and drinking. Arc 3, Episode 13. The Light Shall Not Follow. From Praying Beside the Teeth That Killed Me, by Connie Chang. Oh. Hey, Bo, what's up?
What's up? Are you on your way back from the apartment or not?
Yeah. The little lady's just a little low on gas, so I'm at the quick way.
We do not have time for this. We need to grab our bag and get to the ICMA, now.
Tonight? What? Hold on. Bo, are you sure? Look, I know my way's been a little slow so far, but I really don't want to risk breaking and entering.
Your way hasn't been slow, Mav. It's been dead. The spiders have been giving us the runaround for the past 2 weeks. Our client is getting impatient. It's time to do things my way.
Listen, Rhododendron's gonna respond to my request any day now, okay? We just need to hold out a little bit longer.
Time is not on our side. Do you really think that the Twice Bitten is going to let a fake journalist tour their closed gallery where they covered up a murder?
Allegedly covered up a murder.
Mav.
I know, it's just, as investigators, we shouldn't jump to conclusions.
They're not paying us for conclusions. They're paying us to procure evidence. We tried it your way, Mav. It didn't work. Now we do it my way.
Fine. Just, can't it wait until tomorrow? Or at the very least, the morning? At least that way the spiders can't jump us. Daylight and all that.
No. If there really was a violent murder, it needs to be at night. Paranormal activity doesn't register during the day.
Oh, right. Paranormal activity.
Are you serious?
What?
Are you scared?
No.
Maverick.
What? Who in their right mind isn't at least a little bit scared of a fucking ghost, okay? Ghosts are scary. You can't punch a ghost. You can't kill a ghost. They're already dead. How would you kill something that's already dead?
Hurry up.
Hello?
And meet me back at your place. I'll be there in 15 minutes.
Fine. Just, wait, hold on. Before you hang up, do you want anything from the gas station? Biddles? Doggenhaus?
No, Maverick. No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking that, yep. Alright, they hung up on me. All right. You know what? Doggenhaus it is. Xainan. Stale smoke and fresh blood lingers in the air, sticking to the plaster walls like fry oil. Breath by breath, Kelega calms down. She groans quietly, head twisted away from her still mending arm, as though looking at it would make it hurt even more. Anu keeps her steady. Sakti pulls a pack of cigarettes from her jacket and taps one out into her palm. Her faded gray eyes fix on you. She notices how you linger on Kelega's blood, how your tongue darts out to wet your lips. But she doesn't comment on it. Instead, Sakti says, "What do you think you know about wolves, Esch.
The big ones, or just, I don't know, I've seen a few. Stopped them from hunting where they shouldn't.
And when you say you've seen a few, you mean regular wolves that live in woods outside the city? Or wolves?
Yeah, I'm assuming if that was a wolf, I ain't seen one that big before.
Then you've probably got no idea exactly what it is we're up against here. What a fucking mess. Gestures at Anu, who pulls out another pack of cigarettes from her own jacket, taps out another, and hands it to Sakti. Sakti lights both cigarettes and pulls on the two, letting out a thick gout of smoke that wafts in front of her face. You see, Esch, the wolves here in Inferno, they're disorganized. They're not like us. They don't have houses, at least not yet. They run around the city in these semi-formed packs. There's maybe a dozen of them, 24, 3. Can't really say. Honestly, can't really care. They're not typically a threat to our holdings. At least, not until recently. Sometimes their scrap and their business spills out into our territory, affects what we do. That being said, there was a house among us that took it upon themselves to help negotiate things between the wolves. Hazard your best guess.
Thrakar.
Thrakar. You know, a moon and a half ago, they negotiated some territory disputes that were bubbling up between several disparate, scattered packs. As far as we could tell, that was the end of it. Drew some hard lines, set up some hard boundaries. All was well. Of course, even though the bears, we were fine with it. I mean, less blood spilled is better for everyone all around. But others were quite mad. They thought the spiders overstepped. What do you think?
I mean, it was before my time. But I assume that anything that keeps the peace around this place is thin at best in the first place. So.
You wouldn't be wrong there. You see, this thin peace brokered by House Thrakar doesn't seem to be holding. Seems like the rumors we've been encountering about trouble starting up again aren't just rumors. And those gray eyes flick back to Kelega, who's moaning quietly in pain.
The moan catches Xainan's attention again, and I think he misses part of what is said because he is so hungry for the smell, but also mixed into the smell of copper, of that delicious smelling undead blood. There's just a small waft of berry in the smoke that flicks through his mind and leaves as fast as it comes. Another memory, a wisp of familiar smoke, long gone. And he looks too long at Kelega.
Yeah, you do, and it's not until Kelega starts talking again that you're pulled back into the present. Sakti had turned her attention toward her, and now this injured vampire is speaking. As her arm continues to mend, she goes, "Ugh, and that's why Sakti sent me to investigate. I poked around a little bit, because these disputes were spilling into bear territory, and I got bit. Got bit real bad. Still remember the wolf that did it to me. It's coming back to me now that the pain isn't so bad. She was big. I mean, all wolves are big, but Up close, she was really big. And I remember her face, her muzzle. There was this scar across it. This old scar, all fucked up and scabbed over, like. There was something else, too. Something I barely noticed at the time and then forgot about because her fucking huge truck grill-sized mouth clamped down on me, but now I remember. And at that, Sakti leans in, taps out some of the ash onto the table, eyes fixed on her friend. What is it, Kelega? This happened in the common, where there are still deer, because of the whole conservation stuff. There were a bunch of dead ones. Deer, I mean. Bunch of dead deer in the green. Just bodies torn open, but not eaten. But this wolf, she tore into me like she was rapacious, like she was hungry, like I thought maybe she was rabid, maybe she was just starving, but why would a starving wolf tear a bunch of deer to pieces and not gorge itself?
And that staves off some of the hunger for a moment. Because when Xainan hears the story of the deer, of the waste of destruction, that word comes creeping back in his head. The one that he pushes down every so often, but it always comes back. It's a river. It's a room full of hollow faces. It is dust. It is oblivion. Predators don't just leave slain prey around.
No. No, they do not. That is most bizarre, Kelega. You did well, and I'm glad you got out alive. No information is worth losing one of our own. Anu, why don't you take her to the back? Patch her up even more than what this first aid kit can do. As for you, and Sakti fixes her eyes back on you as Anu takes one big burly arm and helps Kelega up, who whimpers a little but is feeling more and more like herself. She kind of stumbles a little bit out of the booth, and the two women go to the back. Now it's just you and Sakti. Sakti leans back in this wooden booth, sucks on her cigarettes again. You an enterprising type.
I have my moments.
What do you think of win-win situations?
Always a fan.
Well, I've got a win-win proposed for you, Esch. I know you're helping the spiders in your own way. Halfway associated, halfway not. But there's a way you can help the bears here. Obviously, this whole wolf business is a little beyond our current interest and scope, insofar as I don't want to risk the neck of any more of my own. This shit has gone on long enough. But if you and your friends help us figure out what exactly is going on with this wolf, what it wants, why it's acting this way, and stop it, maybe we'll consider the spider's proposal.
And Xainan leans over, and his body feels so familiar for a second, leaning across a bar, listening to a proposal, breathing in smoke. And he smiles, a younger smile. I think we can help each other out.
Good. Good. That I'm pawning this wolf business off to you and yours. The sooner you take care of it, the better. The spiders have a bit of a timeline, too, last I checked. Don't dilly-dally.
Wouldn't dream of it.
Good. I'm gonna check on my friend in the back. You? Clean this shit up. She gestures at all the blood and gristle on the table, stubs out her cigarettes, and stands. And then she goes to the back, leaving you alone here, briefly.
Left alone, Xainan rubs his hand across the table, getting some of the blood of Kelega that pooled. And before he even looks around the room, his caution smothered by his hunger, he takes that bit of blood that he wiped up on his finger and just licks it.
Oh, it is delectable, Xainan. It is honeysuckle.
And licking a diner table can't be worse than kissing a boot. And he's hungry. He's so hungry.
Okay. Xainan, I'm gonna need you to slake your thirst here. Kelega has spilled enough blood for you to quench it with your tongue, rolling down that slab of steel, slurping it up. So, Xainan, when you slake your thirst, you have to make a roll using your weakest attribute. What is it?
They're all the same.
Okay, so how many dice are in that pool?
It's 2.
Okay, so Xainan, you, because of your dark gift, are able to drink and find nourishment from the blood of the undead, but tell me, is Kelega your blood type?
Well, Kelega went and did something very dangerous by facing down the wolves. And Xainan has always had a type. A hunger for thrill seekers.
You can taste that thrill still humming in her blood like motor oil, thick and viscous, pouring down your throat in these warm tides. Roll 2d6 for me, please.
Ooh, that is 11.
Okay, what is the highest individual die? A 5, I assume? 6, I assume?
Yeah, it's a 6. That's
okay.
Wild.
If you drink from your blood type, you double the amount of thirst you clear, so technically double of 6 is 12.
Haha.
So you overindulge. You lose yourself in the process of drinking this. You give into your thirst and you make a bad call. So Xainan, choose a complication. Steal someone's drink, brag about your exploits, tap out the prey, meet someone, or get shit-faced.
Oh, I think this blood is weird. I think he's gonna get a little shit-faced.
Okay. Okay, I love it. So that means you do something here that you shouldn't have. And because perhaps this blood's a bit weird to you, it affects you in a way that maybe it overwhelms your senses. Say what inadvisable thing you do here and take +2 exposure for your coterie because of it.
I think as he is licking, I mean he's licking the table in a diner with there's windows.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Like, this is quite weird of him.
Okay, I love that. So, Xainan, because of the 2 exposure, I'm gonna say there are people walking by the broad windows of the diner who see this, and someone else is also going to walk in on you here. So why don't you tell me what it looks like as you're lapping up this blood like a fucking gremlin?
I think after he cleans the table, he's like fully got his hands and like wiping down the seat, but he's got his like chin near the seat, this vinyl seat that he is just like lapping up blood with his hand and with his tongue, and fully like horror movie style has blood running down his hands, and he is covered in blood all over his face as he is licking his hands, the seat. He's got the viscera on him. He is in it.
Xainan, a flash of colored glass catches your attention from beyond the window directly in front of you. In fact, I think it catches your attention when you kind of lick up, right? And your body kind of goes up and the blood is pouring down your chin. And then this flash of color beams against you. It's a really small flash of color, rose-colored, and it's coming from across the street from you. Several lanes of traffic, but it pings for you. You see a figure who had been walking down the sidewalk. They are shrouded in shadow. You can't quite make them out, but they paused briefly. And that flash of color was actually a set of tinted glasses upon their face. You see a glimpse of a cane, dark hair, eyes whose true shade you can't make out because of the tintedness of the glasses, but you swear you catch just a hint of a smile and a sharp set of canines. And then you hear a voice from behind you go, "What the fuck, man?"
Fuck. Waste not, you know.
Anu is holding a dirty rag that she was in the middle of wringing out. She pauses and lets it kind of fall limply at her side. You know, Diablo really wasn't fucking around about you. You are a freak.
Whatever it takes to stay alive, right?
She leans her hip against the counter with an inscrutable expression on her face. You see a little bit of disgust, which is not unanticipated, a little bit of curiosity, and a little bit of something else that doesn't fully bleed into clarity until her next words come out of her mouth. What, the burger and the stein of blood wasn't good enough for you?
It didn't help.
And you realize what that emotion is. She feels challenged that her food, her nourishment, the blood she'd given you, hadn't satiated you. That's what you're into, huh? Okay. Looks like you're quite flush from Kelega too. You know, she's always had a hot temper. That your type?
I like people who like risk. Whatever that means. And Xainan takes that feeling, that little bit of desire, that challenge to care, and he feels such familiarity in it, that it blooms in him as much as the blood does, that there is home in that feeling for him. Huh. Thrill seekers.
And she kind of slings the rag over her shoulder, looks at you with a new kind of understanding trickling into her gaze, and then she says, "Few more dishes in the back. Clean up. Not with your tongue, Esch. Unless you've been
dishes.
otherwise instructed."
I hear you.
Alright, back in the kitchen with you.
Alright. And Xainan just goes. Like this was normal.
Belly full, tongue satiated, you slink back into the kitchen, and we pull to black. Lumièra. The lecture hall here is completely empty, except for you, Professor Ifueko, and this bombshell she just detonated at your feet. The professor looks at you with those patient, almost maroon eyes. She leans casually back against her wheelchair like she has all the time in the world to drink in your shock. As for your shock, how do you school it, if at all? And do you agree to deliver this ask of betrothal to Rhododendron Thakar?
Lumièra, while her body stature definitely gives cool, calm, and collected, her eyes have always been her tell. So they go wide, almost cartoonishly for a second before they settle back in, and she looks with very deep contemplation. Professor Ifueko, this is an ask. I just got here. And she's like shifting her weight back and forth on her feet as she's trying not to pace, but she can't sit still.
A simple yes or no will suffice, Miss Nova.
Can I think about it at least? I really don't want to cause any more additional problems here than what have already been caused.
Miss Nova, you haven't been causing any problems. In fact, you've been saving lives. As for this question, this message I would like you to pass along to the spiders, it will be passed along, regardless of the courier. I wanted to give you an opportunity to work with me.
Me?
Of course.
Why me?
Because of all of the similarities between you and I that I've already touched upon, and because I'm curious about you. I see that thing that is buried within you, Miss Nova. And I do believe I'm interested in helping you pull it out.
Lumièra stands stock still. You could hear a pin drop because she's now stopped mimicking the human breath that she's always taken. I don't know what to say. Okay, fine. We'll do it.
You have no idea how happy that makes me, Miss Nova. And Lumièra, you have gotten to know Professor Ifueko in these few minutes. Has it been an hour? Has it just been 2 minutes? You don't know how long it's been. Time seems to stretch and also collapse when you're in conversation with this fascinating vampire. And now that you've introduced yourself to this extremely important figure in Inferno, I am pleased to inform you that this will advance that long-term project clock, the fate of Inferno. I'd like you to roll to tick a certain number of wedges. Your result will determine how many as part of your first downtime activity. So to do so, you tell me the action you'd like to invoke based on your behavior so far with her.
Study.
Study. Okay. How many dice are in that pool?
2.
Go for it. Roll 2d6. And here's something else. I will give you an additional d6 because Professor Ifueko wants to connect with you.
Six.
Is there just 1 6?
Just 1.
Okay, so that's really good. You have advanced this project clock quite a lot. You've made tremendous progress. Mark 3 wedges. So that means out of the 16, we have 13 wedges left to mark as of this. I'm gonna make a note of that. Okay. Professor Ifueko smiles. Not for the first time and certainly not for the last time in this conversation. That vulpine, fox-like, cunning, and yet somehow genuine smile, at least when she turns it onto you, Lumièra. And she says, you know, I hope you know what my intentions are when it comes to you, Miss Nova. Because let me be very, very clear here. I don't need to use you. You are not a tool for me to wield. I don't need to use anyone else, for that matter, in order to achieve the goals that I've set for myself. I'm not like the spiders. I do my own work. House Trakar has volunteered to do some of my work for me. And I always work smart, not hard. So of course I've taken them up on their generous offer, because this is a case of aligned interests. But I don't need to use you, Miss Nova. That's how you know you can trust that I'm telling you the truth. I have no reason to lie to you.
Lumièra looks as close as you can look to being knocked over with a feather, but still standing. She's flabbergasted. She's flushed, but also deep in the pit of her stomach, right behind her belly button, it's warmth that spreads, almost like she's stepping into the waters at the grove all over again. She can't explain it, but there's one emotion that I think sits right at the tip of her tongue. She still won't acknowledge it. Pride. She's finally chosen for not what she can do, but who she is. And I think that is settling in her spirit in a way she wasn't ready for. So she just looks at Professor Efueko and nods.
Good. Now, Lumièra, can I call you Lumièra?
That is my name?
And please, call me Toyin.
I don't think that'd be appropriate, Professor.
Then whenever you feel ready, call me Toyin. There is an intellect inside of you, an ever-churning mind. It is the mind of a predator. It is not the mind of prey. It is the mind of a knower, of a doer. A mind that's been forced to hide. Who did that to you? You don't have to tell me. Not right now. You don't ever have to tell me. I just want you to know that ambition is not a dirty word, Lumièra. Anyone who tries to tell you that it is doesn't want you to bloom into your truest, fullest self. I want you to bloom, Lumièra. Bloom in a way that I didn't when I was your age. Bloom in a way that no one wanted me to, but I did regardless. Rising through cracks and broken glass to become the woman I am today. Even if that blooming means you and I might find ourselves on opposite sides of a war, I want you to come into yourself anyway. I owe it to the girl I used to be. And you see pain in her eyes, Lumièra. Open, vulnerable pain. There's something about her history that she sees in you and that you also see in her of resonance. And in that moment of her sharing that pain with you, oh, there's a different sensation inside of you, a sensation that had kind of reared its interest back at the bloodbath when those blood shots had been given to you. Lumièra, why does that thirst start bubbling up inside you in this moment?
Lumièra looks proud, but then her eyes narrow, her brow furrows. And she steels herself and takes a step back. Taking, I think, the first breath since she stopped holding it, to try to quell that feeling that's gripping her stomach.
And Professor Ifueko sees it. She leans forward in her chair in some concern. You're thirsty. When was the last time you had a drink?
Don't worry about me. I work just fine. I do my best thinking when I'm hungry.
Don't be ridiculous, Lumièra. Here, let me help. And she pulls out a key card, an academic key card that she has access to as a teacher here. And she kind of jerks her head toward the lecture hall doors here on the ground floor. There is a medical research laboratory here. They're doing some sort of experiment on hemoglobin. In other words, there are quite a few unattended blood bags just across the green. I'm sure the people here won't notice if a few go missing. And this, and she holds up her key card, will give you access to that lab.
I don't know what to say. Professor, you've done so much for me already.
Oh, please. Feeding a hungry student is the least I can do. This I would offer to anyone in my class.
Lumièra's shoulders kind of slump at that just a little bit.
She raises an eyebrow, noticing it, and says, a drink, I mean. Not special administrative access to a forbidden wing of IU.
She perks back up again and reaches out for the card.
She smiles, enjoying this little dance that's begun between the two of you, the sensation of how to play you. Not to use you, but just to have fun. And she hands you the key card. She gives you instructions for where her office is, so you can return this card to her when you're done. And Lumièra, do you take Professor Ifueko up on her offer to slake your thirst at this lab?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
So I'm gonna need you to use your second downtime activity to slake your thirst. So here, just as always, we're gonna be using your weakest attribute. How many dice do you have in that?
Just one.
Okay, so the blood here, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say it's not your blood type, because your blood type, Lumièra, is quite specific. So roll 1d6 for me, please.
4.
Okay, how much thirst do you have?
4.
That's perfect. That's a perfect amount. Wow, this aligns narratively really well. So you slake the perfect amount of thirst here. We find you in the midst of this medical research laboratory, amidst sterile white walls and this modern equipment, the low hum of safety lights overhead, as you find these refrigerators, these coolers full of bagged blood, and you drink. So tell me, Lumièra, how do you drink the perfect amount of blood? Not a drop too little, not a drop too much, to satiate your hunger.
I think it ends up being almost like the Tale of the Three Bears, where she looks at each of the bags for a second and like weighs them in her hand, kind of like shakes it around to test the viscosity of it, before like opening a cap of each one and dropping it onto her finger to see which one she likes the best, before she finds like a section of bags that is close to what it is that she is looking for or needs, and then just bites into it, almost like a feral child who's trying to get into a Capri Sun without the straw. Like,
I love that. Yeah, Lumièra, as this blood gushes down your throat and kind of covers your mouth a little, oh, that feels nice. And that's the perfect amount, just right. A memory of a spark of life flares back into your eyes as you clear every single thirst on your track. We pulled a black. Seir. The quiet solitude of the pagoda presses against you in the form of murmured chants and swirling smoke. The monks and devotees of this temple, mortals, one and all, continue about their prayers as though your conversation addresses traffic or the weather, not the vacillations of undead magic. But the abbot is unbothered. Tingsing regards you and Ying He with those warm and unreadable black eyes, and when they speak, their words are solemn, but ringed with the barest touch of humor. Ah, I realize that my story might be a lot to take in, being a former member of House Trakar and all, but it's a river under the bridge now, I assure you. So, if the two of you are quite done asking me about magic and politics, might I proffer 2 questions of you of my own?
Certainly, it's the least we can offer back. Thank you. Tabbet.
Yes, questions are fine. And yes, thank you for answering our own queries. Wonderful. Then, the first question I would like to ask you is one that I offer every vampire. The first time they set foot in one of these temples. Would you like to know your destiny?
What?
What? Would you like to know your destiny?
Seir looks at Ying He, like, kind of confused, quizzically. He was taken aback by this. We see that Seir has his hair is still up in a bun, so he kind of like fidgets with the stray bits of hair that are coming off close to his ear, and he was expecting a question of, what is your relationship with Trakar? What do you think of rhododendron? Who are you 3 really? You know, the kind of questions Nova gets frequently. And instead he gets this. And so he's puzzled and turns back to the abbot, and while fidgeting with a stray bit of his hair, I'm sorry, what do you mean by knowing destiny? Fortune telling?
Well, yes and no. Ha! Very astute of you, Seir. You see, we were talking about dark gifts earlier, and mine is the ability to read people's fates. You see, a lifetime ago, I was a soothsayer, as you have quite cleverly picked up on, and I was rather practiced in the art of palmistry, if I do say so myself. Now that I have moved on to my second life, I have found that my abilities have been enhanced. And something that I do believe with every fiber of my soul is that everyone deserves to know what destiny has in store for them, so they can live their lives with intention and full acceptance of everything that might come their way, good and bad. So would you like to know your destiny?
Seir bites the inside of his lip and he starts looking at the red thread on his finger. All his life, he has been besieged by omens, by shadows of what may come. now that it's taken a different form in a way that he doesn't quite yet see nor understand, he feels out of place, out of sorts. And also, that's never really been offered to him. Choice. To choose to see, to choose to know. He's always been burdened by knowledge, by sight. And as he kind of like fidgets on this red thread, thinking of the terrifying, majestic visage of a stag-headed man with threads of fate torn upon his antlers, he glances over to Ying He before answering. Yes. I would like that.
Very well. What about you, little crane?
Me?
You don't have to if you don't want to, Ying.
I want to know. Read my palm, too, please.
Very well. Then I'll start with you. And Tingsing turns to Ying He. Gestures for Ying He to pull a hand forward, and he does. Tingsing takes Ying He's long, slender fingers in their own and goes, "May I?"
Yes.
Taps the fingers of their other hand underneath Ying He's elbows and guides that arm up to their mouth. Opens up their lips, and you see slender fangs come out, and gently, like this is a lover's kiss instead of a vampire feeding, the abbot slides those fangs into the hilt of Ying He's palm. Ying He doesn't stiffen so much as they relax into it, and as Tingsing bites and eats and feeds on the blood that spills out, you see their eyes cloud over completely with red blood. Somehow you just know that the blood clouding Tingsing's eyes belong to Ying He as they drink, and the two of them sway in tandem on the spot. Ying He's eyes flutter shut, their pupils roll up into the back of their head until their eyes are just whites, as the two of them share some sort of vision. And as they do, Tingsing speaks, but it's not with just their own voice, it's with Ying He's layered over it, so it's a kind of double speak happening. And the abbot says,
living shadows, a dead moon, an old woman, war, pain, union, peace.
And then they break apart gently again, and like a leaf falling onto the surface of a river, Tingsing falls backward. And then their dog is there, their service animal. They're immediately bracing their body against Tingsing as they steady themselves so they don't hit the floor.
Oh, thank you, Virgil. You, little crane, have quite an interesting destiny.
And Ying He kind of reels on the spot, instinctively reaches out to you, Seir, and grabs onto your shoulder to steady themselves.
Seir's already there, like chest to shoulder, holding onto Ying He. He had been frightened the second those teeth laid into Ying He. The second he saw Ying He's eyes roll back, he was besotted with fear.
I'm okay. I'm okay. Those images. You saw my past.
Your past?
Fascinating.
Well then, yes, I did. And that does tell me something interesting about your future. Or rather, lack thereof.
What?
What do you mean?
Oh, don't worry, you're not going to die. At least, not yet. It's more so that your destiny has already come to pass. There's nothing else of note in store for you, little crane. Your karmic purpose has been served.
What do you mean by that?
all those images you saw, that was your fate. You were chosen. I could feel it. There is a moon goddess, a death, a ghost of it, shadows restored. You're done.
Done? What do I do next? What happens next for me?
Who's to say? Oh, but there is something. You should take better care of your hands, little crane. There's a worry line you've etched into your palm, caused by your own nails. It wasn't there before. You weren't born with it, nor were you ordained with it. Just fretting. Worry line. Perhaps, who knows? Perhaps you can carve your own path now, in the absence of a greater design.
Oh.
Little stag, would you like to know?
Seir kind of like snaps up to look at the abbot. He's been staring at Ying He's profile, just studying them. He's intaking this information from the abbot voraciously. Serve their karmic purpose. Already did their destiny, everything that they were fated to do. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but a little bit of sense too, because we helped, but surely there's more. And then the abbot pulls him. What? Oh, sure. Same thing.
Yes. Your hand, please.
And Seir hands the abbot the hand where the red thread is tied to his finger.
The abbot's hands are cold as ice, just like yours. They tip too underneath your elbow and bring your palm up to them, and the fingers of their right hand brush briefly over that thread. Their head cocks in interest there, their eyes meet yours, and then their eyelids flutter and lower down to the base of your palm. Those fangs slide out silently and then sink into the hilt of your hand. Seir, there's a sharp bite of pain, and then you also sink. You sink into water. No. Blood. Red. Blood. Swirling around you. You are thrashing, tossing. No, it's the blood itself that is thrashing and tossing around you. Your mouth falls open. No sound comes out. Blood comes in, and the red river pulls you under. There is a piercing pain in your left chest over that white birthmark. Sing, darkness.
No more visions. Just nothing.
You wake. You're on the floor. Ying He is next to you. Ting-Sing is braced against Virgil, who barks a little, looks at you, and then braces against their owner. Oh my. Well, that was rather ominous, wasn't it?
Seir, are you okay? What happened? All the abbot and you, your voices layered together, all they said was doom. Over and over again, just doom.
That seems par for the course.
Oh, thank you, Virgil. Are you quite all right, little stag?
What was that?
Well, that was your destiny. I think you're going to die.
I think you're right.
What? What do you mean? Like, eventually, right? You said I was going to die too, eventually?
No, it feels more imminent than eventually.
The river of blood.
Yes, the Red River. The one that cuts through Inferno. It represents death. It gave us our gifts, and it will take them away again.
That means here. And Seir
Yes.
looks to Ying He of, it has to be imminent because now is when we're here, not long-term future being here.
Ying He's shaking their head. They look over at the abbot.
That can't... How sure are you? These are just visions, yes? But if we can see what's going to happen to us, surely we can avert what's about to occur?
Well, there are
are two parts to an omen, you see. There is the omen itself, and then there is the interpreting of the omen. Right, yes, the interpreting. So, how certain are you that this means death?
Quite certain. I could be wrong. Of course, I've been wrong before, but not often.
It feels right. And Seir says that in a very odd tone, like a discordant chord on a piano. He's kind of retreated. His eyes, his mind have retreated somewhere into the dark recesses of his mind. And Seir fusses over that red thread against his finger. It feels like what I think death would feel like. And when he says that, he thinks of Sing. He felt her death. He felt that part of his soul wrench away. So as far as he knows, this feels like death. And if it's doom that he chanted, it's an omen that he's had before. And when has his omens been wrong?
Seir, I need you to roll to advance the clock. The fate of Inferno. What
All right.
action are you invoking?
Command.
Okay,
That's 1d6.
how many pips do you have in that? 2d6?
Just one. One.
Just one?
Just
Okay,
one.
roll. Roll for it.
Fuck you, Doom Dice. 6.
Okay, that is great. That's a tremendous amount of progress. You get to mark 3 wedges as well. We're down to 10 wedges in a single downtime moment. Love that. Seir, this clarity of purpose, instead of dread, really, plummets into you as you awaken from this, as Ying He helps pick you up back onto your feet. And now you and the abbot look at each other. You looking down at this slender vampire. They take in your acceptance of this with a nod. They're not surprised by this necessarily, but they are impressed. You see, this is exactly why I always offer supplicants, mortal and undead, if they would like to know their destinies. This, and they gesture at you. You know what might come to pass, with near certainty. And now, little stag, you are equipped to do with it what you may.
Your omens are pretty accurate, right?
The omens
your
themselves
experience?
never lie. The fault always resides in the interpretation of the omens. All we do know is that there is danger. Grave, unavoidable danger coming for you, little stag. And after the danger comes to pass, nothing else is clear.
Doom comes for us all.
Indeed it does. May we not weep in the face of the end, but walk into it, hand in hand as old friends.
Thank you, Abbot. And he looks towards the dog that's steadfastly by the abbot's side, and he says, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you."
Oh, oh no, no apology necessary. I've seen countless omens in my life and unlife. It doesn't hurt me. It brings me clarity. It brings all of us clarity. That's why we can speak so freely here in the temples. These mortal supplicants. There's a rather crude and demeaning term that the other houses use to refer to those. In Ula, blood bags is what they call them. I prefer supplicants. These are mortals who are aware of the veil between life and death, aware of the undead that walk among them, and agree to be fed upon as a kind of
karmic rebalance. You see, when a mortal is fed on, they're brought closer to the Red River. It helps prepare their souls for everyone's inevitable fate. Speaking of feeding, the two of you seem quite parched.
Definitely, you seem very thirsty, Ying He. I have a plan, some ideas of how we can help you out, and maybe begin narrowing down the scope of your what do you call it, blood type. And Seir speaks like he always does, not like a man who's just received a terrifying set of news, deathly news. He's back to operations, to his purpose in Nova, and as a friend to Ying He. I have a plan. Probably some sort of like thrill seekers first. They seem easier to find. And once we do, we can at least give you something. And if they're not your blood type, well, then we're back to the drawing board, but at least you'll be okay.
Okay. I just... Abbott... I know that most of what you see seems to come to pass, and that you are quite sure that what this means is Seir's death. But is there any possibility... And Sing Sing raises a hand. I am usually right, but I have been wrong. Perhaps it is death that comes for you, Seir. Perhaps it is simply danger. Something is on its way to you. Be prepared. That seems to settle Ying He a little bit more. They nod, they breathe out, and they turn back to you, Seir. Yes, I am quite thirsty. I can hunt with you if you would like, or...
We'll hunt together.
I was going to suggest that you can take from one of our mortal supplicants, but it does seem like you're quite set on hunting, in which case I do insist that you hunt far away from the temple. That's all.
As you wish, Abbott. Thank you for your offer. I think it's important that we hunt this night. You spoke about instinct. It's good to engage that, and a hunt is when your instinct is at its sharpest. Maybe we'll unearth the truth of our types.
I hope that you do. It has been quite a great pleasure meeting the two of you. Have a wonderful rest of your night. And Seir, it's time for you and Ying He to slake your thirst. So tell me, where in the city are you taking Ying He to seek out your prey? And then make a roll using your weakest attribute. This will be your second downtime activity.
Okay, my weakest is always going to be a d6 because I have a few of those. So that's just what's going to end up happening. And I think the way that Seir is moving about this is that his plan right now is to knock out some of these types as much as he can so that we can hone in on what Ying He's type is. So I think he's looking for folks who are out and about, who are out to party, folks that are easier to find than maybe some of the more obscure ones like other vampires, which seems really dangerous, and he really hopes that's not Ying He's type. And he's kind of taking Ying He through different side streets. He's mimicking the Great Huntress. He's mimicking Artemis. He's marching forward. He fusses over patience on his wrist. And as he kind of like points out to like groups of people, folks who are walking in to parties, folks who are sat reading by a bus stop, he's trying every now and then between long periods of silence to engage with Ying He and being like, how does this feel? Things that Artemis would ask him. What do you see? How do you feel? How is your heartbeat as you are approaching potential prey and things like that? And that's what he's trying to do. And that's how he'll attempt to hunt and slake his thirst.
Okay, so roll 1d6 for me. How much thirst do you have?
I have 2.
Okay. So we're hoping for a 2 or lower.
Yep. 1.
Okay, yeah, great, perfect. Yes, okay. Great. So you don't cause
My
even more
dice
trouble
give
than you
it
already
and
have.
taketh
Yes,
away.
they do. They roll low. They roll
low.
And in this case, it's a good thing. Okay. So before we get to you slaking your thirst, finding your prey, there's a moment where the two of you are exiting the temple and you've just spilled back into the street. The moon is high in the sky. It's nighttime, but that doesn't mean Inferno is sleeping. Far from it. These sidewalks are packed with people. These trees lumbering along streets, casting even darker shade over the night. And Ying He is quiet, contemplative, but there's also a tension buzzing underneath the surface of that silence. You can feel the abbot's words within that tension. And before you set your sights on your prey, Ying He abruptly stops. They just stop walking in the middle of the sidewalk and let the crowd kind of push past them.
Seir, I think, took like a couple more steps and then hears that. I think Seir has been using his vampire senses, especially while Ying He and himself have been walking, to hear Ying He's footsteps. And he notices that the one thing he's been tracking has ceased. And he turns around and I think asks a practiced question that he's heard Artemis say in every hunt they've ever taken him on. What are you feeling?
Confused.
What's... And he kind of like steps closer. What's the matter? Are you getting a bead on your type? Is there someone here?
No, Seir, I'm confused about you.
Me?
Yes. How can you be so blasé about the danger that you're in?
Seir would typically not want to engage in this conversation, because to do so would be to be very open and vulnerable about how scared he is. But he has never been able to hide things from Ying He, really. He's shared so much already. And this feels like he's being shucked open by Ying He. I'm not being blasé about it. It's there in my mind. I know what the abbot said, and I know about the danger. I'm trying to come up with plans in my mind, Ying He. Whatever is coming is danger to me, and danger to me means danger to Nova. If I am... Let's say, best case scenario, I don't get killed, right? But there is a moment in that omen where I'm covered in darkness. Do I pass out? Do I get taken out of the fight? I don't know. I don't even know. Nova is in danger. You are in danger. And I have to take it one thing at a time. We have to slake our thirst first, and then I must plan.
You're talking about this like you're all alone, like this is all on you. I don't understand you, Seir. You're so confusing. It's just, I don't know if you even like me or not. Because sometimes when I'm with you, it's great, but then sometimes you'll randomly turn around while we're in the city of heaven and tell me to get lost. And then I show up again and you're acting like everything's normal. Now you're acting like you're doing all this by yourself. I don't understand.
Oh. That. And Seir hears the flurry of emotions from Ying He thrown at him, and that pries him open even more. He sees the pain in Ying He's eyes, and he can't take it. His heart can't bear seeing that, and he kind of like steps closer, more forward, and he's just like, Ying He, the city of heaven, I know I was really harsh to you. That's not what I wanted to say. That is not what I was
What did you want to say? Just say it. What, you think I can't take it? If you don't like me, just tell me to get lost and I'll leave.
It's not a matter of like, Ying He. It's not a matter of want. You followed us through every plane we have traveled in. And I love that. I love spending time with you. I love hanging out with you and sharing all the things that burden me. But our work is dangerous, Ying He. Nova is in constant danger. I failed. I failed in the city of heaven. I failed to protect you twice. I failed to protect Xainan when he gets his head cracked open by the hammer of creation. Lumièra was tossed off a goddamn rooftop. And see, I love Sing, and I love you. I couldn't protect my own sister. So what does that say about you? My love is not enough, Ying He. My love is not enough.
Seir. Ying He steps forward. Their hand goes up, wipes away a tear. When did you start crying, Seir? Wipes away a tear from your cheek.
Seir, it's not your fault that Sing died. It's not anyone's fault. Sometimes tragedies just happen. That's just the way the world works. I saw it all the time on Zhiguang. So many people died during the war. Sometimes it's someone's fault, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes we can stop it, sometimes we can't. You can't beat yourself up because of it, Seir.
But it's my job. It's my calling. I'm meant to protect you all. That's what I've worked for my whole life.
Seir, we are meant to protect each other. Now, I haven't been a part of your strike team for very long, and I haven't been an agent of your organization very long either, but I do know one thing, which is that all of you stick together. You watch out for each other. You're not in this alone, Seir. I won't let you do this alone. And I know Xainan wouldn't either. And I know Lumièra wouldn't either. And I know Sing wouldn't have either.
And Seir feels like a puddle. He feels he's just been turned into a mess of water as more tears kind of like flick down from both of his eyes. And he feels like he could, for a moment, hear Sing's voice in his left ear saying something, but just was not fast enough to catch it. He thinks about Xainan sitting on top of a manticrore's nest with him as we look down to the wild sea stars. He thinks about standing back to back with Lumièra in the city of heaven as we are surrounded on all sides. And in this moment, I think Seir remembers that maybe they love him too. I'm sorry. I hurt you. And I'm sorry.
It's okay. Thank you for apologizing. But what would be better than an apology, Seir, is if you don't,
And they kind of jab you in the chest. Not too hard, but just hard enough.
don't take that choice away from me again. I'm here because I want to be here. I know that things are gonna get dangerous. I signed up for it. I get to decide if I stay or if I leave. Okay?
Seir nods and asks one more time for himself. Is this what you really want? To be away from your home? Away from your people? Is that really what you want? You were chosen.
Always.
You were chosen, Ying He. Do you just want to leave that all behind?
Zhiguang is always going to be my home. Nothing's going to change that. But I've suspected for a while now, ever since the four of you helped me, that my home doesn't need me anymore. And maybe what I need isn't to be in Zhiguang, at least not right now. I mean, the abbot pretty much confirmed it, right? The use that they had for me, I've already served. I want to find my own use, my own path forward now. And I want to be here. I want to be here with Xainan. I want to be here with Lumièra. And I want to be here with you.
Then I will not stop you. Then I will protect you.
And I'll protect you too. Also, did you say you loved me?
Seir's eyes widen. His pupils shrink. His hands start shaking, and he feels like he is sweating. He is dead, and he feels like he is sweating, and heat is rising up into his face. What? What did I? Oh, well.
Ying He's kiss is sudden, and it is soft, and it is cold. And then you feel their fingers wrap around your waist and pull you in as they tilt their head up, and with their other hand, weave it into that bun at the back of your head and pull you down, kissing you like they've always wanted to because they have. Kissing you like they need this.
And Seir, in his clumsy, inexperienced form, hesitates for a moment, his hands shake, and then pulls Ying He in and reciprocates the kiss, softly, gently. A boy finally being able to express his love in this way.
And Seir, even through the end of the kiss, even through the hunt, even through the mouthfuls of blood the two of you share together, eyes locked on each other, the one thing you cannot forget that does not leave you all the way back to Elegy Apartments is the feeling of her mouth, her lips, her teeth against yours.
He loves me back.
We're gonna go to break there. Thank you all so much for tuning in so far. That was gay as hell. Doom and Gloom Canon. We'll be back in just about 5 or 10 minutes. We love you all so much. Stay tuned. Enjoy the sponsor reel while we're gone. Show.
Howdy, Transplanters! You know what time it is. It's sponsor Connie time with a word from Hero Forge. Hero Forge has officially leveled up with kit bashing. When you become a pro member, you can place up to 20 more items anywhere on one of your Blorbos with their own independent scaling, rotation, and movement. You can make your character look exactly as they should, even if the specific clothing or accessory option isn't available at the base level. You just have to get a little creative. And because I love you, Transplaners, here's a special sneak peek at a kit-bashed version of Oblivion. Just look at those wings and that base. This would not be possible without the power of kit bashing. The combinations are literally endless, and you can print your kit bashed Blorbos as plastic minis, standees, digital STL files, or even Hero Forge's brand new color statuettes. Color statuettes are twice the size of a regular mini, and just look at this. I mean, look how massive this is, and especially in comparison to a regular mini, you can really get into all the nooks and crannies and details that wouldn't be as apparent on a regular sized mini. Just look at how Oblivion dwarfs Oka here. And also, if you're a GM, consider busting out one of these bad boys during a boss fight to really get your players shaking in their boots. Oblivion agrees. Unlock the true power of Hero Forge with a Hero Forge Pro subscription starting at $3.99 a month. Get in there and start creating at bit.ly/transforge. Now, let's get back to the show. Or more likely, just more of the waiting room. Trust in her will.